Hello and welcome to Autodidactic. My name's Campbell. Thank you for being here. And today we're having another chat and we've got Dino from Art of Dino with us. If you haven't seen his channel, all the links will be below. Go across and have a look. Give him a like, a subscribe and all that. Lots of interesting stuff, lots of really interesting old books as well that he's been going through. So yeah, get over and have a listen. So welcome, Dino. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Cam. I'm a big fan of Autodidactic, and I've been seeing your stuff since the beginning and your work, and I love it. Love your live chats with Bernie and Beagle and everyone else. So it's amazing. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, so I really like your artwork too. I mean, gosh, I have to get you to have a chat with Kelly sometime.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
A similar kind of stylish, like the sort of, I guess, non-realism, is that what you call it?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. She's way into the art too. So cool. Yeah, Tartaria. So let's just jump into it. I mean, one of the main things you've been doing, like over the last sort of year or so, is finding all these old books and on Tartaria. Yeah, which are really interesting. So like I said, guys, if you haven't seen them, go across and have a look. And you know, you basically read the book out and then you show your artwork as well, which is always good, nice and visual. So what are your sort of, where are you with all this, like with the story? What's your sort of, after reading all the books, have you got a sort of concept of what's going on? What's all this research about? What are we doing here, Dino?
that's what we're all asking ourselves, really. I got kind of, I go back and forth on a lot of things, and certain, I go with like what feels right. But sometimes what feels right can be completely wrong. So you never really know which way to go. And just, factoring in the fact that like everything we know and have access to has been, we have access to for a reason until we raid the Smithsonian and the Vatican. But till that happens, or until some whistleblower comes out and is like, here, look at all this stuff, then I guess we have to do a lot of guesswork. And so, I don't know. It seems like more and more things relating to Tartaria. I kind of just I'll go by keywords or different kind of things on Archive and a few other sites, and just go dive in for things. And then when I find a book and search through it with Tartaria or Tartary or Tartar or anything,
or
and then
Tartaria. Sorry, had to do that. Yeah. Tartaria.
Tartaria. But you never know what you'll really find. And I do a lot of like skimming, but I usually read them for the first time officially all the way through when I'm recording them. So it's kind of a surprise to me too. And then you get some genuine reactions that way. And then, but I usually will skim through it and be like, okay, boom. And then I'll find the page that's right on the money, or the section that I'm like, that needs to be put out there. And then really my main point is I search for art for inspiration, and I have just a massive collection of art. And I'm always kind of convinced that some of the secrets are going to be let out through art, because that's kind of what I do, and that's what a lot of the artists I really like do. And so I'm convinced that at some point in time, some artists have put some stuff out there that's got it's hidden something, hidden messages, hidden meaning, hidden just things that we can infer from it.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of looking for those.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. We've got this big thing about the photos, right? I mean, look at these photos, and now we've got evidence, right, of vanilla skying, or whatever you want to call it, photo manipulation. So how much can we trust the photos? But when it comes to art, you can't manipulate art, right? I mean, we saw that guy who tried to redo the Jesus picture, right? You can't.
It's true. Yeah.
You can't change stuff. So, and the thing is with art as well, I mean, art's this big thing, right? Everyone's got collections, right? All these rich people have got all these big art collections. So what's in them, I wonder? Because there is one that's out of that shows France and the Arc de Triomphe, and it's got it's a painting, and it's got this guy, and when you put it against a photo today of someone in the same position, the dude's like 12, 14 foot tall.
Really?
It's painted, but this is the thing, you can't. So I'm sure there's lots of out there that when you look at them, you don't really realize it, but when you start looking, you're going and you see the perspective, it's like, hang on, what's going on there? So
Something's interesting there. But yeah, and you know that they're somewhat, I mean, it's still a drawing, so you have to take that into account, obviously, because it's a creation. You can really create anything, but they those people that are drawing magnificent, perfectly detailed drawings aren't going to mess up on things like that. They
Exactly.
do it for a reason.
Yeah, there's a difference, between like, the painting behind you, which is more like a sort of conceptual idea, right? And actually drawing a building to make it look like a building. That's like, that's designing architecture type stuff, isn't it? So
yeah, that stuff is and it's so precise. They're always so accurate, and I mean, the different, like, I don't know what if they used camera lucida, camera obscura, or something totally different, but they can't. It still is possible to eye it out and measure it out and do it with a ruler. So it's, if you're skilled enough in it and you do it enough, then you can do all those things. So they're interesting. I don't know if you saw that one of the last ones I did was the Leven Cruel. This guy, this artist, this Flemish artist, and there was a couple of early drawings he did of a bridge, the Pont Royal in France, and they were like construction artworks in the place of construction photos, but they were like super detailed and like had like there's something mysterious about them because the size is different and it goes the way they're like I don't know really. I mean, my dad was an engineer, but I don't know too much about construction. You guys dive really into the construction and the elements of it and whatnot. I can only kind of just guess on a lot of things, but it's just impressive. I'd like to see more construction artworks out there from some people.
Yeah.
And those are hidden. Everything's somewhere, but not able to see it. And we got
not for our eyes.
People in the private collections need to come out, and that's what I think one of the next big steps in this is going to be someone has to blow the whistle on something. It has to just be like, screw it, like it's time to help humanity. I don't care, like, they can't get us all, like, boom, and just do a document dump of history of the Vatican, any stories from there, anything.
I'm waiting. I can't. I mean, but this is the thing that there has to be, there's good and bad, right, in everything. Like Jackson said. So there has to be people, with the money and the collections and access to this stuff that aren't part of the, whatever you want to call it. But obviously, if they go ahead and release it, well, up to now that would have had a lot of ramifications. But at this point, I mean, God, everything's up in the air, right? So if you're out there watching, just release it. Do it.
I know. Hopefully we're all doing like the prep work that somebody like kind of set in motion, because it is interesting how the things, like, every couple of years after 2012, every couple of years there started to be like a devastating revelation on a lot of things, and the cycle this continues. We should be due for the next round, or the next
run. It has been a couple of years. Yeah,
we're due for something that just creates a whole nother, like, avenue of thought for a lot of people, and kind of maybe proves to us something that we never fathomed before. That's what keeps happening. Like that trees one, the giant trees, it was something so kind of simple, and they did Avatar, and they kind of they potentially put it in our faces all over the place. And even when you think about Avatar, like the way that just like that clicked with the collective consciousness in such an interesting way. And I actually I have a funny story. When when that movie came out, I was like, I don't want to see this. Like, I didn't even watch a trailer. I was like, Avatar just sounds lame, whatever. And then I was somewhere, and some random person was like, you know what, you got to go see that. And I was like, eh. So I made some like magic tea, and I went into Boston by myself and like rode my bike to the theater and watched it. And as the previews were happening, I was about to like lose it. I was like, I got to get out of here. I was like about to walk out of the theater and just go ride my bike. And then the first scene happened with the bubble. And then it was the best movie experience of my life. And like, I didn't expect it. I didn't want it to, I didn't even want to like it, but it had something in it. And like I feel like, they always release certain things in movies, and that I feel was one of them.
Certain times, yeah.
It had something that collected to it. Like, and I think that those, I really think there's something about the giant beings that built on top of everywhere, that built, it had to have, it just at some point had to have been there. Like, it can't just be us. There's no way, really.
I mean, why do we have a concept of giants?
Yeah, exactly.
Because because what we're told is a giant, is like Andre the Giant, right? Someone who's like 7 or 8 feet. But we have this concept of massive beings. Where does that come from if there's not? And I was thinking about it, I was talking to someone yesterday, and the same with like telepathy, right? And all these kinds of things. If there's nothing to it, where does that thought come from?
Yeah.
It's more like
I
a
think
memory than a imagination,
something we've lost. It's like it's something that feels like a shining or something that we like an ability that, and then you think about it, like when you think about what's happening now, and like I mean, the way people will still believe in like the moon landings, and even though they like just certain things that can get ingrained into the population, and mothers have been convinced not to breastfeed, like they can so easily convince the masses to go against what's totally natural and what's essential for like life to continue in a healthy, sustainable way, mental or physical. And they can so easily convince us by just putting out a movie with some famous actor who does something one way, and then people just freaking lose track of what's right, or they and then you have to almost reverse engineer all these things. Like our mental abilities are definitely one of them. Like that's something they've always wanted to dumb down and slow down.
There's a video going around at the moment of these college kids in New Zealand, and they're standing there saying, what we have to do is stop farming. And they're completely serious. Farming has to stop, or the world's going to explode.
Oh my God.
This is where we are, right? Do they understand what food is? This is the thing.
I wonder who those kids are, or who they like, who their parents are.
Well, yeah, right.
New Zealand blows my mind how New Zealand people, like, that's not natural for someone from New Zealand, like the most beautiful, freaking devastating place, to think things like that. Like the education, they can do so much through education.
Exactly. And I was going to say, this is kind of what they're doing, right? Like we have the mainstream education. It's all, blah, blah, blah. We know what that's all about. But in the background, right, like you said before, we have these little bits of information coming out, like, the shape of the realm, and, history, and they go out there and they start building, and then, movies come along that sort of help put that into the consciousness, and then they start to gain a bit of traction, and they start to grow, and that's what has to happen. You can't just sort of get someone from, 1970 or 80 and say, oh yeah, no, everything's wrong. The shape of the world's different. History is a complete rewrite. This is it. They'd be just like, what are you talking? So you have to do it in steps, right? Like you have to. So this is trying to get people back to the place where they can actually accept it as a concept and as a possibility, and then we go through it. And another thing that's interesting is, this thing of, all truth, right? All truth is first, ignored, then it's ridiculed, and then it's accepted as truth, right? And we're sort of right, where's all this research at the moment? I think we're pretty much in the middle of, or just starting in the ridicule, right? So that's good, right? Not too much longer, and it'll be proven as truth. Yay.
That's true. We're in the ridicule and attack phase.
Yeah,
and
basically.
They're sending all of them at us. They silence us everywhere. They don't let us flourish. Like, people have to put in the effort to find it, and a lot of people can't, like, won't even fathom doing that. So they know they can get so many people. But again, the way they release things, and how we all know how the CIA and all those mind control programs work, is they do things generations ahead of time. So it's like, there was even a movie. Did you see that movie Sea Beast? It was like an animated movie that came out somewhat recently. No. I think I did like a community post on it, because it's a massive star fort in it. But it's like it's pretty intense. It's like an animated movie about like sea beasts, like giant sea creatures, and then it starts from this Starford city, and then they go like, and this girl and this guy end up kind of hunting sea beasts, but then it's actually kind of intense, because at the end, and this is nuts, because I think it's the directors of Moana, which is what got me to see it, because I like the art in Moana a lot. I think those guys did a phenomenal job, and so this one is like even more advanced, and so it got me. But then, like, even the ending of the book, like at the end of the movie, the spoiler alert, but the people, like the main character who hunts the sea beast, realizes that the sea beasts weren't the enemy all along. It was the government of the Starfort city that was constantly making them the enemy of the Starfort and manipulating the minds of people for generations to think that these beasts were the enemy when actually they were the friends. And it's the like, it's kind of funny. It's funny because I with the little baby girl, I watch a ton of Disney movies and or not really even Disney, but a lot of kids movies. And it's shocking the amount of places where they put things like this, like in all the Tinkerbell movies, they have Never Never Land. There's two different stars in the distance. There's the place you go beyond. There's, I mean, even Moana, there's like a giant hill. They go down the center of it and they go into the realm of monsters, like underground, and there's water and there's like, it's like they definitely are putting things everywhere. I mean, even the old Disney Donald the DuckTales movie, The Search of the Lost Lamp, which was my favorite movie when I was a kid. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but there's one point when they find a genie, which is also a little Tartarian, but they find a genie, they rub the lamp, they do all that Alibaba kind of stuff. And at one point when he's back at Scrooge's mansion, the Duck mansion, he grabs a globe and he starts bouncing it and playing basketball with it. And he's like, "Ooh, what is this?" Like, and just belittles it, just absolutely trashes it, like as if it's just like, you know, and they do that stuff everywhere. And you notice it more and more when you
when you click onto it, it's everywhere. I mean, I saw, have you seen The 13th Floor?
Oh yeah, that movie was
I saw that last night. Oh my gosh. I was just like, nah. I'm so spewing though. They made a mistake in it. I'm like, oh, come on, let's just run. You almost got it perfect.
But they always pull out a little bit.
I mean, but it was a really good concept. But the thing is, it was supposed to be a closed city. But the dude's alibi is that he flew in from another city which didn't exist. So that was my like, oh, come on, guys. So close. But, that concept, you know, and that's the same as what is it, the Leo DiCaprio Inception, where they sort of go down levels. And there's been so much talk at the moment, right, of simulation theory, right? It's suddenly in the consciousness, and then so there's a lot of movies about this. Nothing recent, but I wonder if something will come out recent. You know, we've got Dark City and all this, and obviously
Dark City, so good.
Yeah, Truman Show, all this stuff, and
Vanilla Sky, even.
Yeah.
Even did you see that other? What was the one you just mentioned something and it made me the first one you mentioned?
Truman. Dark City, Truman.
Oh God, it'll come to me. One movie that is all about that stuff. I can't fucking think of it. There's one, The Congress, which is kind of nuts. It was about like actors and fakery and future of society. But there's one, God, it'll come to me in a couple minutes. One that I was going to mention to you that I think you'd like. I can't remember.
There's a couple out there I need to see, but another one I saw was Universal Soldier, which was the same kind of thing, but that was more along.
I love that.
Yeah, like growing people, like the clones, but then taking the memories, which is the same thing, really, right? That's the same as a simulation, creating bodies and people coming into them, and so I mean, that's an interesting one. This whole, where are we, right? I know you've looked at a few maps. What are your thoughts on the realm? Did you extra land, the realm? Just for a little.
Oh yeah, I'm like I've gone full blown into the fact that I believe there's land beyond the poles. Like I without a shred of doubt, I believe that there's land beyond the poles and in every direction. And that's one of the things where I'm trying to go now with my art. I have like a series of theoretical structures of the universe. And so that's kind of something I like pushing. And every like few months, I kind of come up with a new one. Because we really don't, I mean, once you zoom out, we really have no clue of what it is. And everything you see, like in all the pictures from space or whatever with the regular normal camera they're just so flat. It just seems like it goes forever. And, I think our eyes are what's permitting us from seeing maybe like what could be in the distance. And I just don't know. I tend to, of all the structures, my favorite one I think is the Janes, which I I have something about Hindu and ancient Buddhist
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
that I think is, it clicks in a way, and it connects with things that I've thought and experiences that I've had. And just, I can't fathom that they would, like, some of those books, I've read a bunch of old Buddhist books, and the families they mentioned, the names they mentioned are like a sentence long for a last name, or like some guy's name. And it's like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, you can't, like, there's like too many concepts, too many like things for that to be a work of fiction of someone. And in those buildings, you know, from India and all those things, like, you know, they lead to something. And I wonder how many, you know, there could have been a whole nother realm or another style of structure of architecture that just got completely eviscerated, that we've never even come across, like, that there isn't any left of, or something, you know. Like, I think the star forts are one of those ones that they maybe tried to get rid of, but couldn't. But who knows what was here and they were able to get rid of in those places, like the deserts and stuff where there's just an abnormal amount of things that don't seem right. Like, you know, who's to say what's there, and what's underground is a whole nother realm. I mean, places
underground.
and
have you seen the ones in the, you know, yellow blue country that are literally, they're just an imprint, and they've got like crops and stuff growing over the top, and you can just make out the foundations, like completely buried.
Yeah, those are nuts.
Yeah.
So,
and we found one.
and how much? And where's the bottom of those things? Like, you know, that.
Like, and who built them?
Who knows?
You know.
Yep, exactly.
Did you see the one
why
and what? Did you see that one? I don't know if I'm going to make a video on it, but it's a star fort, like it's an imprint.
And
it's got this mud flow. Yesterday, right? Yeah, the mud flow that goes on top of it. It's like, it's
ridiculous.
And this is the thing, you know, sort of the more we go into this, we kind of keep proving ourselves right. Have you noticed that? I mean, I've been in this for a couple of years now, and you know, at the start, you know, the red bricks, we were, you know, we were going, is everything red brick? You know, is it? Because everything's facaded, and then like, bang, you know, we're seeing all these, you know, buildings on the side smashed up, and it's all red brick, and we're like, wow, okay, is there this? And everything just keeps. So I mean, we've got to be on the right path. You know, obviously, there's a lot of stuff coming out now, and everyone's saying, well, no, the books are correct. You know, which is weird. After the last 2 years we've had, come on guys, trust the authors of authority. They're clearly they're out there to help you, right?
Have to trust anyone.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, they had a tough time. They had a tough time building trust back up to anyone. Everyone. All these.
Oh, I mean, it's gone anyway.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, this whole, and at least I love the fact that we all, you know, like during this time, everyone takes like a lot of the people that are like in the scene for the right reasons and whatnot, you know, they're taking their time with things. No one's like declaring anything. And I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I think all of us, I mean, I don't know if you do it, but I think I have a feeling you do as well. Like, you know, it's research. Like my page is pretty much research that I've come across that I'm like, ooh, I think people would like that, and I think people would like be able to add to it, and I'm curious what someone out there can add to it. And then it like keeps going, it keeps growing, and like, so it's the people that are chiming in that are like some of the best part of a lot of this, because you got to, I mean, I love checking your comments, checking John Levy's comments, like, because you never know who's putting like the gem in a certain spot. And there's a lot of people out there like, I mean, I tried for like 12 years to get any type of subs, and I didn't get any until like Martin Liedka like said something about me once, and then I was like, all of a sudden I was at like 100 and 200 and 300, and I was like, well, this actually works, or this can be like it's a way to create a voice here, and a lot of people never kind of get to that. So I think, and it's also good that I think you do it a lot. You definitely do it a lot too, and I do it a lot too. Is building up other people in the community. And then like people that have stories and have things to share, and being like, yo, email that to me, or get on it, make a video, we'll share it, etc. And I think the more we build, the more we can counteract the nonsense in the fakes that they're putting out, because they're going to put out fakes. They're going to boost those fakes, and those fakes they're going to have bots like attacking us from those. It's you know, it's the same game that we've been dealing with for a decade now.
Yeah.
And it's not going to stop until we change the whole landscape of everything. And I think pretty soon YouTube will be a little obsolete, and there'll be some other places that will be more welcoming of us.
Yeah, I
But
see YouTube. Yeah, I think it's in its big decline at the moment. They made some
the death spiral.
Go broke, right? I mean, even YouTube, they can't. It's just crazy to me that all the channels they got would have been their biggest revenue producing channels. They were the channels that people who worked and had money and who spend money watched. Now they're full of all these college kids who've got no money, and they're sitting there like, I just don't.
And every one of them has an agenda. Like it's actually scary if you if you sign out of YouTube and you go onto the main page.
I know, right? I've done that.
It makes you cringe. You can't not cringe. It's just and I hear a lot of it too on at the gallery that I'm at. There's a lot of people that come up to me and they come up to and talk art and talk a bunch of things, or they talk about their kids, and they're like, my kid thinks he can be a YouTube star because everyone else is, and or all these other people they watch constantly are. And that those people that are being, you watch those people for a second and you're like, wow, I know exactly who's writing your script, or the kind of what you're trying to get at, what you're trying to make the masses of kids think. And it's, it has to be combated in whatever way we can, really. And I think just making it appealing to people, and once they snap out of it, you've got someone.
Yeah, which is, what they don't like about us making inroads. But this is, people tend to, and I suppose, the older generations especially tend to think that YouTube's like television. It's just they don't realize that it's, they think it's just entertainment. They don't realize that television is right programming. And so all they've done is they've taken that programming out of a room where everyone has to gather, or you have to go there and make time, and they've put it in your hand, so you can watch it 24/7.
Right.
That's all that's happened.
And they can set you on a pace. They can just plot your path if you let it just go.
With the algorithms, they'll put you in a complete echo chamber. And this is why we get crazy people, and people are like, what's wrong with them? And it's because everything they look at is affirming their beliefs to them and telling them that everyone agrees with them.
It's nuts. And it's why it's so tough to snap our family and people we love out of certain things, which is one of the worst parts. Because it's just you can tell them so many times, and they can see full-blown examples of why you shouldn't eat at Walmart, and then they'll just keep doing it or just thousands of different things. But it's tough breaking through that brainwashing. It's almost impossible. You need to be people like us that don't we can take the abuse. If someone comes at us, you can take it. There's one guy, I forget what he is. I sometimes watch him on in the flat earth kind of topics. There's one science guy that YouTube parades around. I forget his name.
The D-man, the Sci Man, or the Professor Man?
I don't know. There's Bill Nye, the douche, and then there's some weird
Sci Man Dan, the skinny sort of guy.
Yeah, he's something, and he
he did a hit piece on Billy Philly, who's a mud flutter.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, but you hear these people, and you can see. I mean, anyone that's even an amateur in body language can see that these people are squirming in their seats and are just they're just fuming with rage over, and they know that they're wrong, and they put out these things that are just
yeah, and they don't tend to be able to sit. Everything's short clips, when they do these things, it's just blah blah blah, and then it's cut.
Yeah, so and then you don't give the person, the chance to speak at all about anything. Oh
God, that Professor Dave one with Dave Weiss, that was so cringeworthy. Did you see the guy who did who did a video on it, and he basically looks into fallacies and logical fallacies and arguments and all this kind of things and debates and basically goes through and tells you how people are actually doing, if they're making points and everything. It's really interesting because he did it on that video, and halfway through it was, I think Dave Weiss had made one logical fallacy, and Professor Dave was up to 100, and this guy was going, I don't get it. He's got to be a paid shill. This has got to be an act, because no one can be this. And then he was seriously asking, look, I don't want to be mean, but is this guy, does anyone know, has this guy got mental issues? You know, like, should I be making this video? Like, he was seriously questioning the guy's mental acuity,
You
because
have to.
you have to when you see it. But the funny thing is, all of his subs would be sitting there and they'd be so, infatuated with themselves and their beliefs and their, their balls, that they don't even hear it. They just like, oh yeah, Dave got him, Dave got him. Ah.
And it's like you're not only missing the facts, but you're missing like the whole energy and feel of the entire thing. Like the people, and I wonder how many of them are fake and how many. I'm sure he's got, so it's like millions the guy's got supposedly, so I'm sure so many of them are fake. But it seems like every time you see him too, he gets like more and more like scraggly and like beaten. Like the only thing I can think for people like that is that they have to be compromised. Like, here you go, Dave, we'll give you millions of subscribers, we'll give you like $20,000 a month. Now you push this to no end, and you this is your mission, to attack this. And like, you keep doing it, we'll pump you full of subs, and don't you dare go the other way, because we will show the world we'll show all those millions of subscribers exactly what you've done or who you are.
Yeah.
That's the only way that people can do this garbage.
It doesn't even have to be that nefarious. It can just be a guy who's a full-on globe believer, loves the science, and he gets a channel out there, and they're like, okay, that guy's a good one. Let's start promoting him and build up his channel, give him an income, and then we'll start saying, hey, say this, say this, say this, say this. Yeah. And then once they've got something, once he's got his income and he's got his fans and that, then they're like, okay, so this is the deal, and if you don't say it, we pull your channel.
Yeah, yeah, and that'll do it. That'll do it. Yeah, once that's your livelihood, then that's
because he's got millions of subscribers, so we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars a year at least.
Yeah, at least, definitely.
Yeah. So
that's true. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't have to even be nefarious. They don't.
Yeah, they just set them up. I mean, that's what they do with, the higher levels, right? They put them in compromising positions and get photos, don't they?
They have.
And then they give them all the stuff, and it's like, yeah, turn the wrong thing, and you're going to lose it all.
Yeah, they're probably even. I wouldn't even be surprised if some of those people are like, if you'd be like, say one of those compromised people is like about to like drop like a tweet or something on his phone that's like maybe a little controversial or maybe something. I wouldn't be surprised if someone pops up on that phone and is like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" or sends a picture, or I would. Because I think that they use bots. I'm convinced that for psychological like attacks on people, not really people like us, because we don't care. You can't. No text doesn't hurt us at all. But there's a lot of people out there who like you can like some of these people that commit the crimes that end up on the news and are on mental meds. I wouldn't be surprised if someone's tapping their system, like commenting, this is one of their followers on social media is like, you should do this, you should, and it's actually some guy of an agent of some sort, because it's so easy to disguise yourself. It's so easy to just have text pop up on anyone's screen or to contact anyone, and if you have access to I never put
it's just all out.
They have so many ways.
They use it for keywords, right? I mean, you mentioned it before, right? Well, everyone searches for keywords, right? Blah, blah, blah. So of course algorithms can do it. Do you know who Ken Wheeler is? I
don't know.
I can't remember his name. After the name of his channel, Afropophasis or something.
I think I know. I think I know.
Apopos, the tattooed monkey, the bald dude. Yeah, he tracked some bots. He was on Facebook and he started seeing these weird conversations, and he tracked them back, and he got to this place where he found all this server, and it was all bots, and they were just talking to each other. So what's happening is they're doing this underneath, post videos, whatever, to get a narrative. So just say, it's someone who, is pro, killing babies, shall we say. They'll put a video and then they get these bots to go in and start this conversation of, oh yeah, that's the right thing to do. Yeah, that's a women's right. Oh yeah, free. And then people going in read these comments and they're like, oh, that's what everyone's thinking, and I want to be part of the group.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. They've got so many, like the weak-minded they've got like by the balls, and they, if they have any left, and they just, they know they can toy with them in every way possible, and they do it. And I mean, there's just, we're in full blown like onslaught. You guys, I think in Australia are under the same onslaught. America, it's just sick. I mean, what came out like a couple days ago, that pretty much down the street from me, they're making at BU, they're making that 80% strain of COVID or something.
Oh, that new, oh my God, really?
That new one. It's like happening right. And I just saw an article before I got on here that was like, is Boston the next Wuhan? And I'm like, fuck, God, oh, where do you go in this dumb? But that's the Massachusetts is like, it's just it's a bizarre place. It's definitely like the Berkeley, California of the East Coast, and but it's also got so many conservatives, so it's weird. It's like, it's like they've convinced, it's like they just, I don't know, it's like you have the extreme of both sides, and they're here, and the voice gets won by that side, and then the other, but there's still a lot of people, and the voting's always terrible. But the medical, like this is like home base for medical propaganda is Boston, because everyone's convinced that, oh, this study came out of Boston, oh, go to Boston Hospital, it'll be the best, like, and it's just it's ground zero for like the chaos, and I can't imagine what they're doing. This I mean, this is the home of Pfizer's and Moderna's. They're like they're all over the place, and God, get me out of here. Tartarians, pick me up.
Yeah, come back and get me. I know, right? And just that's just days after they literally came out and said, oh no, we didn't test it. What do you mean? We didn't test it. Come on.
Yeah, we didn't test it on spread or anything. It's like when, and then you still like have to, like some job, it's too ridiculous to even go down that hole, and that hole's just shitty.
Well, this is the other thing is, I've got, I believe that, the more you focus on something, the more it can affect you. So that, obviously the less you focus on it, the less it can affect you. And we've got, placebo effects. We've got all these different things that we can point to that prove that, the more we believe something, the more it affects us. So, and look at the propaganda at the moment, right? It's just on steroids. So is that the actual attack? Is it not necessarily, is it just that state? So, if all this stuff's going on and you don't care, and you're just living your life doing your thing, is it really going to affect you as much? Well, at least as much. It's definitely not as much, but I'm pretty sure we can just step aside. Obviously don't, go and let people put foreign things into your body, but as far as the rest, I think, I think this is just a big mental thing, right?
It was just hugely, man. I mean, fear, they knew right away, the fear game, like that it would get so many, they knew you could get so many people with fear, and they got so many people with fear, and it's amazing. Like, they didn't, I remember saying it like right away. I was telling my family, like instilling it in them, like there's nothing to fear, like trust me, there'll be nothing to fear here. Like don't go outside thinking that there's something floating around that's going to attack you. But they didn't. I was the only one. Me and my immediate family, my wife and Bella are like, we were unfeared, but we were the only ones I know that were like not in fear, not masking, not doing any stuff.
I'm about
everyone
the same.
was terrified.
Yeah, everyone. With kids, people who you thought you were normal, they're just losing their minds.
It really did. It's it's kind of funny because it's one of those things where it's like, when 2020 came around, it did not pay. Like it was really bad if you were a person who wasn't seeking the truth. Like all those people who were just taking their truth from the TV and everything, you like those people had no chance. Yeah. It was like, it almost felt like we were groomed for this. Like there's it's always that thing. I always hope that there's the good, like there's a clear evil side. It's absolutely clear. They're obvious. You can look at them and see that they're evil, but there has to be, I find it so impossible that there can't be a force that's even more superior in good. And if there was, and I pray that there is, then I know that they wouldn't be egomaniacal like the evil side. That's why they're so apparent and they're so everywhere, is because they're egomaniacs. And if you're good and you have good intentions, you don't need that. So it makes sense that they be hidden. I just pray that they exist. And, you know, I hope that they're putting out things that are helping, you know, helping everyone get on the combating this nonsense in a way that where we can do it and make it work.
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely that's happening. And this is the thing is, you know, we live in a creation, right? So therefore, the overriding power has to be about creation, not about destruction. And clearly, you know, destruction, destroying things is the dark, right? That's making the void. And so there has to be a light because we're here. So there has to be the good side. But I mean, then we can also say, is this bad? Is what's going on actually bad? Or is this needed? I mean, does anyone want to go back and live in 2019? Seriously? I mean, you know, I look at the world now, look at everyone. I mean, we're no longer crazy people, Dino, you know?
I know, you're right.
Good.
This was the only thing that could, you're right. We're fine. Well, to some, I'm in Massachusetts. I still am.
Know, to some.
When I get out of across the state lines, I'm normal again.
Yeah. But so many people have woken up, you know, all these companies that are collapsed or collapsing, you know,
you're right.
They're all going down. All these things that we found out are evil. So I think it's good. I think it's the biggest opportunity we've got. You know, whatever you want to do, if you want to start a radio station, guess what? We need them because all the old ones are going to collapse. No one's interested. If you want to make content, movies, whatever, art, clothes, everything needs to be rethought, right?
The Renaissance,
reimagined and redone. And it's this whole, you know, parallel economy people are talking about. You don't fight the system and try and collapse it. You just build something better, and the old one will just fall apart.
You're right. I love that. Just let them crumble, and then just they'll all come to us. All the people that want to, like, it's easy to see. It's so easy to see that, like, you know, we're like a happier bunch than a lot of people. And I think it has to do with this stuff. Like some of the main, I mean, breaking free from the globe Earth is like, so many people that don't get it are always like, what does it matter? Like what we're on, like, it's the flat Earth. Who cares? Like I have that conversation in my art gallery all the time with everyone. And they're just like, what does it matter? And I'm like, because one is you're like floating around in the middle of nowhere and you're nothing. You're absolutely meaningless. And the other one, and it's meaningless, godless, and it just doesn't make any sense. And then the other one is like, we're part of a mystery that's eternal, that has like realms in our head that we can't even come close to figuring out, not to mention the stuff beyond the poles, and like in the power that we have, the power our mind has, the herbal power of everything, just the magic is everywhere. And these people are like kind of, you know, and it stems from that. It all kind of stems from, if you think you're spinning around on a ball, then you'll really believe anything, because so much of reality is showing you that that's not the case. Like, and one of the things I always say too is I'm like, okay, then, like, you know, if we're spinning around and we're so fragile, spinning around like so fast and through chaos, like why don't we have like a natural disaster that's in any way related to that? Like you'd think that we'd sometimes come across something, or a shift, or like, you know, why are there underground tunnels in Paris that have like been around for like hundreds, maybe thousands of years? Like, why would people build in a place with earthquakes and on a shifting like thing that could crumble? Like any, you know, it's, and I think volcanoes, I think there's something weird with volcanoes too. I don't know what it is with volcanoes. I think there may be something there that like that we're missing, or that's, you know, because that something about that you know, I feel like everything we're told that like they're like, oh, glaciers made that mountain, made that valley, you know, everything they say is like so dumbed down. It's like you have to almost go back to look at all the things that are dumbed down one by one and be like, you know, what is that? Like, what really is that? Like the sky being blue, they're like, oh, it's because these colors bouncing off and you only see this one and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I don't know. I think that maybe there's something blue behind at the top of that. And, you know, maybe.
Well, that's another good saying, right? The truth is simple. And this is what we see is, you know, with the shape of the realm, you stand there, you don't feel movement, you don't see curvature, it all looks flat. And that's what you would believe if no one told you anything. But then to believe their story, you have to understand all this science and all the equations and all this, right? And then they come back and they say, well, if you don't believe all the science, then you're clearly just stupid, right? That's why you don't understand it, because we're smarter than you. But then we get this thing, like you said, we've got tunnels and catacombs and stuff underneath us everywhere, right? Which apparently they don't know about, Dino, but they know what's happening on a star 5 million light years away.
Or what happened like here millions of years. I always love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, what happened in the past. Yeah, yeah.
Millions of years ago. They don't even know how to get yesterday right, but they know what happened.
They can't get the weather forecast correct, but they know, what dinosaurs ate. Yeah, yeah, good one.
Yeah. and what they didn't eat, what they didn't like.
It's
So
just a
ridiculous.
silly story, isn't it?
It
So
really
what do
is.
you think about this whole extra land thing? Did you see Jared Booster's video where he was doing the airships and showing that back in the 1800s there were these sightings of airships coming across?
I think I saw some of that. I think that was one that I was watching and then I got cut off and I didn't get to go back to.
Yeah, it was basically the first UFOs, I guess, right? Sightings, and they were airships, right? Which, cigar-shaped UFO, anyone? And apparently some of them landed and a few people went up and saw these beings and they said they looked slightly different and were talking that they came from other lands and stuff, right?
I believe it.
Airships, and then they took the airships away and then we still have all these cigar-shaped UFOs flying everywhere. So, I mean, have we been cut off? Like, this is the thing, like, were the airships our way to get over the walls and stuff? And
yeah, probably to travel so long distances without needing like certain fuel or something, or being able to make distances that were incredibly long or something. Maybe even just free perpetual like ways to travel through the ether with God knows. But the fact that they strategically targeted the airships, like, and they did that with the Titanic too, I guess, but cruise ships continued. But maybe that one was going further north. I don't know. Maybe if there was a path, maybe there was a northern passage cruise at one point.
It was up north, wasn't it? Yeah, good.
It was. Yeah. So I wonder if that was maybe to stop those routes, maybe stop people from going up. But with the airships, it's like boom. It's like, you see all the culture from the back in the day where airships are glorified and they're amazing. They're so cool, from Final Fantasy to like all these different movies and Nemo and stuff. But then they the way they got rid of them was so like targeted and so you just know that they wanted those gone. Like,
yeah, one accident, and I think it was 35 people died. But how many plane crashes have there been? But no, planes are fine. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's something that's the way to find out like what is important almost, is like how the things that they work so hard to get rid of and make us think the other direction on. Those are the things that kind of be re-examined into.
And the whole thing about the Hindenburg is they filled it with a different gas. It was flammable, so it wasn't even anything like any of the other airships, which is the dumbest thing in the world.
It's just a total show, 100%, like 100%. And that's the thing too, is like they're like throughout time, they just gradually they like constantly are adjusting to how to pull off an event and make people believe make people like it, just eradicate the lies before while you're spreading the truth in its place. And they've been doing it in every year. I mean, it seems like at a certain point these resetters like started that trend and then they just keep it going. And nowadays, I mean, you're like anything that happened in the Obama era in America should be re-examined, because none of them were, I don't think any of those big things were natural. I think they were all staged, and they probably are, and everywhere. And New Zealand had that weird thing with the active shooter situation. Yeah. And then you find weird and you just dig deeper on these things and people can prove them wrong, and then they like just make it disappear.
Well, I mean, and look what's happening right now with Mr. Jones.
Yeah,
right. I mean, if that's not them telling us do not question anything that we do, then what is, right? $1 billion. Question us and it'll cost you $1 billion. $1 billion. It's just like, come on, guys.
Insane. They know something's coming. They know some kind of awakening's coming, and they're trying to do what they can to get ahead of it and try to stop it in its tracks. But I don't think there's anything that can be done.
Chance. No.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they have the strength that they claim in movies that they can do. Like a Terminator nuke explosion. Like I don't think that's what.
I don't think they've got much at all.
Nope.
And who knows? Maybe they're working overtime trying to work out the old tech still. But you know, all these things that we hear about, you know, especially to do with space, right? You know, who's ever seen a meteor? You know, we haven't seen these things happen, right? No
No.
meteors crashed into the earth since I've been around. So
Yeah.
everything's just either in the past, you know, I mean, and seriously, meteors, how do you know meteor? Oh, well, what do you think killed the dinosaurs, right? I mean, come on. So all this stuff we don't have proof for. It's just imaginations. Oh, this will happen, this will happen. You know, Hiroshima, yeah, something happened and they got blown up. We don't know if that was an atomic bomb. You know, the meltdown in Japan, right? That was going to kill the world and destroy the oceans. Nothing happened. Chernobyl. Chernobyl's a wildlife park now. It's like, it's thriving, man.
It's
Everything
amazing.
they say is nothing comes to fruition. And then they just bring another story out before people start looking into the old one and keep them in that fear cycle. And I don't know.
They're masters at it.
They are, but it's weird that people just forget their, don't, you know, how do you forget all this stuff? I don't get it.
It just, they like, they're just so like, just how do you trust? How do you like, that's the one thing I don't get is that, like, you know, if someone lies to me, like I lose all trust in them immediately after one lie, and I'll take everything that you say. Like, you know, if I like you, I'll give you a second chance, but I'll still take, you lied to me once.
Believe it, yeah,
you're still on probation. But these people lie to you for generations, like years, and people still watch them. Like the TV. I don't know how anyone can watch the TV in America. I haven't had a TV for 25 years, and we got one for Christmas once. We got like this like huge TV, and we were like, we gave it to my wife's sister, because we were like, I don't want a smart TV in my house. Like, I'd rather look at this computer or not look at anything at all.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but not many people think that way. And there's
well, it used to be the idiot box, right? Now it's the smart TV. So I mean, just there is a bit of spell magic.
Yeah, everything that's smart is actually like the worst, and the backwards, but it's super dumb, and
dumb TVs, man, dumb phones. I mean.
And the watches, these people with the watches and these things, like I'm glad to see that the metaverse is failing miserably, because if that had gotten any momentum, that would have been like, oh. And you know, they put out those movies too, like the Spielberg movie, Ready Player One, try and get everyone into it, and still it crumbled to dust, and nobody's biting. And that's great. The best way to fight back is all this stuff. And you were right about what you said. You know, this accelerated their unmasking more than anything else could have. And it's time. We have to seize on it. It's really it just has to happen. There's no way around it.
It's going to, because they've still got the energy and the thought process from 2019, right? They think that we're still acting like that, and that all their old tricks are going to work, but clearly they're not. Nope. And then their biggest downfall is they don't have creativity. They can't change the plan. They just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and look what it's doing to them. So they just don't belong in the new age is what's happening. They literally are going to just fade out. Look what's happening. Hollywood's fading away, TV's fading away, the music industry's, the popular music industry's fading away. PayPal, that's almost gone now over one tweet.
Yeah. I know that never could happen before.
Never. Now. $6 billion in a day because they put a tweet out. I mean, really? That's unheard of. Yeah, $6 billion in one day they lost.
Well, I might have to pull out then. I probably should too.
I've still got it. I know. I'm looking for, but it's like I said before, right? It's a perfect opportunity. Someone out there making you, PayPal alternative that's better and uncensored, and you will be a billionaire.
Yeah, that's it.
And this is the thing. Anyone who can provide, and I'm waiting for a new. We got to get rid of Apple and Microsoft. We need a new computer maker, man.
Yeah,
that hasn't got all the spyware in it. We need new search engines. We need everything new. So
you're right.
This is the biggest opportunity ever. And
you're right.
Sitting there like, oh, poor little me. It's like, just go for it, man.
Yeah. You're right. Make the world in our image this time, and and I think, I mean, even bringing back this old architecture. That's one of the things that's kind of interesting too. I think I did a video on it a while ago, but remember, and Trump again, he's one of those people. I don't trust anyone. I see a lot of good. He's done so much good, but also I see some nasty things that I don't really like. But but he, you know, like he even came out and was like, you know, about the pro-classical architecture, like bringing architecture back. And this whole Tartaria kind of revival came back on his watch, and his dad and the old real estate in New York City, and how much did they know, and like Tesla and all, like there's so many weird things that it just can't be. I actually, I've done like 5 videos, but I've never published any of them, but called the Trump dilemma. Because every time I'll say it, and I'll say how, you know, this on both sides, because I do think it's the Trump dilemma. You know, we all want him. We all need someone that's gonna do good, and no matter who it is. And we're all scarred for so many generations of not having anyone that we can trust, because everyone you kind of trust ends up being a total douchebag. And I think there was there was when he came on, I still don't know if he's good or bad overall, but he, you know, people didn't have it was like tough for even the truthers to be like, you know, what's going on here? Like, because everybody that they bring out for us has been compromised up until now. And, you know, is there a chance that someone is here to, like, you know, help initiate this next phase? And then you think of some of the stuff that he brings up, and, you know, some of it's like, you know, the father of the vaccine, that wasn't really a good call. But then he's got all kinds of stuff like that like his Tesla past, and all these different things that he's brought up, numerous things that are just like, you know, like, you know, is it all very much could lead to something, to this massive awakening where everyone, you know, he gives the power goes right back to the people everywhere. And then this new new education systems form, new renaissance, new art, new culture, all comes from this inevitable destruction. And right now we're just in the phase of sticking the fork in them, and we can't do it, you know. And technically, if you think about it, like you said, we really can't do much until the forks have been in these people, and they're like, you know, whether they don't have to be hurt, they just have to have their mindset like changed, and they have to just we have to overwhelm them with people have to see, the masses have to see what we're offering, and how it's such like a beautiful, I mean, it's beautiful, like you said before as well, like thinking about these negative things and focusing on the news and stuff is just a downward spiral of like, it can't be done. Focus on creating art, focus on pondering these things, like the structure of the universe, what these buildings look like underneath, what, you know, pondering these ideas and concepts, and creating this reality based on what we think the ancient kind of like the original state of this world was, is an immensely positive thing. It's like, how can you think of anything better? How can you really it's one of the greatest topics of all time, is that we might all come from something so perfect that 99% of the population can't even come close to fathoming it, until we like provide the stepping stones for like them to be able to grasp like what might have what they've really taken from us, like the magnitude of what they've robbed humanity of. And also, you know, even if we're the pets, like at least we'll know, you know, it'd be great to know that we at one point were the workers for this spiritual race of beings or something, or we were the, you know, whatever it is. It's just, we just need to know, because whatever they're telling us is complete baloney.
Yes. It's complete BS. I mean, definitely. And this is why I like this topic so much, is you can kind of go under the radar, right? And you can kind of show people, oh, you know, what do you think about this? And this isn't true. But then it's so expansive, you know, they can go out in the city and say, oh, okay, why is that building, you know, half underground? And what's with the angle there? And why is that building oversized? And then before they know it, they're looking at like Antiquitech, right? And they're like, oh, what? We had free energy? Then they find the start forwards and all that, and they're like, so I think it's a great topic to get into. You know, it's not confrontational. You don't have to go up to someone, and you're not really challenging their belief systems until they're sort of in far enough that they've got a perspective, that they've got something to. Because the thing is, unless you have, you know, like a base thought, you can't go somewhere, right? Unless you have
the relevancy,
foundation in your mind. Then, so if we walk up to someone and we're like, Tartaria is amazing, they're like, I don't know what Tartaria means. So you're just a crazy person, right?
Yeah.
So you got to give these people the reference points, and then they can start going, oh, it expires, oh, okay, oh, free. But yeah, if you run up to someone and go, that cathedral's it's a machine, it draws energy from the ether. They're like, dude, you're crazy, man.
Yeah, you gotta start slow, definitely. And then once they get hooked, you can't. I mean, even like a good foundation is the maps, like just looking and seeing like where, like that whole area of Asia, Grand Tartary and Tartaria, and then immediately your mind's just like, what? And I swear, like Tartaria is like when a couple of years ago, when like 4 or 5 years ago, when it was coming out, and I was starting to notice the maps again. I was like, just that word like seemed so familiar. Like it didn't seem like it just seemed very familiar. And and I think they even put it in like I was watching Tacoma FD, like one of the few shows that I like. I don't know if you've ever heard of the guys that do Super Troopers and stuff. They have a show called Tacoma FD.
Yeah,
those guys. So they're really funny. I think those guys are one of the few groups that are actually very funny, but they have a show called Tacoma FD. And just in one of the episodes that I was watching yesterday, they were talking about the 25andMe or whatever, that genetic code kind of thing. And where you check your ancestry and stuff, where it's most likely just collecting your DNA and blah, blah, blah. But they were like, one of the people was like, oh, I'm related to Genghis Khan. And then they're like, oh, I'm related to Genghis Khan too. And they're like, we're all related to Genghis Khan. It's like, huh. And I remember too, my aunt got it done. And my cousin was telling me about it when I was in California with him one time. He's like, yo, my mom did the thing. And he's like, it was crazy. He's like, and I'm like only half connected to them because my dad's from a different side, but we with the same mother, sister kind of thing. But he was like, there's a whole like 40-50% of our DNA that says it's from this like area of like north of like, Asia that like is, and I was just like, what? Like in like kind of like Middle Eastern-y and stuff. And it's just like, like they could be putting it into all these different places and kind of like letting it out slowly. And like you got to wonder then again, who knows, like what people know, like what the people that combat it, like, do they know, like, do they like the secret societies, do they have the books? Do they like someone has to know, because the thoughts are like kind of being put out there, and it's in the same way that you groom someone and like, and so it's interesting. I don't, or you tease someone, I guess, the same way you kind of tease someone. If you're like, all, and you're like, haha, we're going to give them a little taste, but not let them, still steer them astray, or I don't know. It's this clue. I feel like they were just surrounded by clues. And one of the other things besides the map, I think, of the Tartaria is, if you live like pretty much everywhere people live in Europe, in America, you start to notice all these old buildings that you never noticed before. And then you're like, oh, that's in a ridiculously old building. And like the only thing that says the date is like this one little concrete like etching. And it's like, is that really and you start questioning it, and you're like, I went to the town of Braintree today. I drove by it, and we went to the post office, and it was like a Tartarian building. It was mud flood at the bottom. It was elevated. It was above, like it was on a whole like hill of other buildings. There was a whole school area that had a church, and and then again, all of them look like they could be dug up, or that they could go deeper. And I want, someone's got to dig something and figure out, like,
well, I mean,
find something astounding.
This is the thing, we have a lot of proof. Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for someone to find that room hasn't been touched, right? That's full of the old tech,
and live stream it before anyone can touch it.
I mean, Paul Cook's been under roads. Biggs is showing lots of the underworld and stuff, so we know it's there. We've got all the photos from Russia of cars falling through roads and stuff, and there's just like another story of a shop down there. And this is the thing as well. Like we were saying, mud flood, and everyone's like, "Oh, you guys are crazy. They're basements." And then it's like, "Oh, well, here's a picture of a car. It's fallen through a road, and as you can see, there's a door and windows under there." Mud flood. I mean,
tough to find out.
This,
they need to see that stuff, and that's where at least there's enough proof kind of around there, and for us to like show. And that's why it would be great to have someday we need a TV station of all of us that like kind of like whatever it is that we can kind of, we all have our own personal channels, but then we all kind of add unique material to one.
The True
And
History channel, the His Story channel, I think it's going to be.
Yeah, Our Story channel, something, the Lost Story channel.
Yeah, I mean that, and this is the thing, that's completely doable, right? That's what we're talking about. We need new TV channels or whatever, entertainment channels, information channels, whatever it's going to be. This is all, and this is why podcasts and all these channels are coming up, because TV's collapsing, movies are collapsing, no one's interested.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God, right?
They need to, that's going to be, I mean, that there's a whole, I mean, and they know it, the market's there. Every time someone has a song or a movie, it just goes crazy. And so it's like, it's a matter of time. Hopefully it gets built with some great foundations and they start like, because Netflix is like, all those things are, it's just so, God, they're all just kind of like corrupt and they're all crumbling. And then but there's so much hope, because the creatives that want to keep going, that are getting stifled, they're just hungry. We're just like caged beasts, like at bay, like waiting for someone to like invest in us or kind of help us get our word out there. And it's going to be great. I mean, the people are going to love what we all have to talk about, because it's so positive, and we don't get mad at people for like disagreeing. We just like we stick to what we see, and we don't take anything too seriously. It is serious. It's an important topic that can help your overall well-being. And that's another thing. I think a lot of the education and the sexual identity, gender nonsense is all to just take people away from nature. And what we're doing is to like bring people back to not only like nature, but to bring them back to like their ancient nature, which might be like the best of all. And we clearly aren't like a progressively smarter world. We're definitely not in that. And so people, that's again, people need to get out of that, because some of the dumbest people are the ones that think they're the smartest, and they can't be. Which is the most ridiculous part. And they're, even no matter how many times they're proven wrong, they still are like, I'm so smart. I
know everything.
But want me to show you that shipwreck place?
Show me this rock thing.
Let me put a couple of things in here. I'll take that too.
I mean, it's interesting, If I always say that, people who know everything are clearly the most misinformed. I don't want to say dumb, but what's that word, right? People in the world, because
lost.
You can't know everything, right? Clearly. But if you think you do, you can't learn anything.
It's ridiculous.
So
but they don't.
Dumb.
They're just like, they're proof of like how much the propaganda works a lot of the time. Like they're like the proof of that. Like, cause I got one relative
thing, isn't it? It's always outside of them.
Yep.
Yeah, the book, and they try and tell you that because you have a natural feeling that something's not right, that you're wrong. So literally their message is, don't trust yourself, trust authority. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And they can know too, like, even if they know it's like, something you've been researching and you dive into it, you're like, I have clearly more hours thinking about this than you. You've just admitted you never thought about this, but you're still not willing to give it a chance. And I think, there's even things like, have you ever seen that Big Bang Theory show?
Yeah, once or twice. Yeah, I know about it.
That intro, just the intro to that show is like is like an MK Ultra, like
it is.
It flashes like thousands of images at you.
There's one word or one image or something that is twice as long as all the other ones. Because you know how it goes dun 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 dun. And I think it's the globe. I think it's actually the globe. Like they leave the image.
Did someone go through it? Someone should go through it and look at everyone.
Yeah. I saw one thing and they were showing it, and it was something to do with the globe, and it sort of was like a big focus of the intro. But yeah, it is right, because TV, the origins of TV. Is mind control. Literally, it was a little screen. They'd sit you in front of it with glasses, things to keep your eyes open, and it'd just flash stuff at you. Just exactly like the start of that show.
Yeah, flicking perfectly to make you be like, oh.
And that's also, it's a double one, right? Because they're smart. They're the smart guys, and they know that we live on a ball floating through space. They know that we should trust the experts. They know we've got all the answers
Started
already,
from
and we should
nothing.
just listen to them.
They know that the Big Bang happened 10 billion years
10
ago,
billion.
and that's a fact.
It's a fact.
We all came from nothing. Everything came from nothing. I remember I said that the other day, like I said that the other day with some people that I was watching it with. I was like, oh my God, like something about like, yeah, like does anyone believe the Big Bang anymore? And they were like, so how do you think it happened? And I was like, oh, Jesus. It's like, I don't know. That's the whole point. I know it didn't happen from that, though. I know it didn't happen from that, what they tell.
I like what Dave Weiss says. He's like, oh, what? So there's a big explosion. Everything's shot out away from each other. But then at some point they all go, hang on, let's stop. And let's just form balls together here and a gas ball there and another ball there. And I mean, it's just a dumb story. But gravity, right? No, I think they got caught by gravity. So what does that mean? That the Big Bang created gravity as well? Because there was nothing here before it. I mean, what does that even mean?
It doesn't. It's so stupid on so many accounts that it's shocking that anyone could possibly even think it. It's shocking that people can't be like, how would anyone know what would happen 14 billion years ago? Like, of course they don't. Like, that should be like when you're told that theory, the first thought should be like, how would anyone ever know that? And then they're like, oh, space is expanding, and we've been. It's like, and then the people are like, oh, okay.
And then then they bring out some mystery. Oh, we just found something that happened 200 years ago. Wow. But it's not really. You didn't know that, but you know what's happening on the other side of your imaginary universe, 15 billion light years away.
Oh my God. I wish we knew. I wish there was some waves coming in from that other part beyond the realms. Like if there was a way to tap into the realm, like the waves that they're emitting from over there or something. I don't know. That'd be cool.
Gotta be. I think we're getting close. We're getting close.
Something's got to come. That would be great. It would be great if they just like if the mind-blowing event was something like that. Something that just like.
Cool? Wouldn't it be good? Have you read The Man Who Crossed the Ice Wall?
I think I read an audio book.
Yeah. And the what are they called? The ancients? No, what are the people called? Not the ancients, but basically the old race of humans.
The ancient one.
The ancient one, yeah, man. I'm just waiting for a fleet of airships. Look up and there's all these airships coming in, man. I'll be like, yeah. It's not an alien invasion. They're not UFOs. They're airships.
They're airships, and then everyone's internet goes like off, or like just like the power, like their power just they know some method to shut everything down so that everyone goes outside.
Look.
Everyone has to be amazing. And then they'll ring a bell. They'll have like a giant bell on top of it, and it'll just like what is innate in our DNA will just start to like resonate, and we'll be like, everything will make sense.
All right, it's coming, guys. You hear it here first.
It's coming. Stay tuned.
Manifesting. All righty. Yeah.
That actually does kind of.
Can you share screen? Have you got access? Or
yeah, let me hit share screen and see if this works here. Let me get it up in the right spot. Oh. Okay, nice. Yeah. All right, let's see if this works. So does that work? Can you just see this one folder?
Yeah. Now I've got like Google Earth sort of picture.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, we'll start here. But yeah, my wife came across this on some website, and I was just like, what? I've never seen that. And so they call it, I'll zoom in obviously, but they call it ship rock because they say it looks like a ship coming out of the water. But I connected it with something from this old book of medieval geography. And I don't know if it really connects. I don't know if I don't have the Native American story here, but we'll go down. This is actually stuff in the area. This is in the area like it. This is in the area like it. This is also in the area. That's called, Barber Peak. Which one is Cathedral? One was called Cathedral Peak, a rock cathedral. Pretty interesting, nice name for that. And then, but this is the place. This is what it looks like. So it's, look at this thing. But their explanation for this is, you guessed it, a volcano. This is an old volcano that you're just seeing like the pipe. the lava pipe come up from it or something. That's their every single video you see on this. They're like volcanic activity. This is a volcano. But
the lava
you have
like
this
spurted up and then like dried really quickly. It got really cold, so it stayed up in the air or something. I mean,
yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. But you keep looking at it, and it's a Navajo site. So the Navajo were frequented here. So they have a story where that they were somehow taken here at one point by a giant bird. Like a giant bird supposedly picked them up and dropped them off onto the top of this, where they lived for a substantial amount of time on the top of whatever this was. And they had the farms in stuff at the bottom. So they would climb down to do like the crops, but that this was something that housed people all at the top. And they said inevitably a lightning strike struck it, and that's what caused its destruction. And then there were still people stranded on the top, as apparently how the story goes. So that got me thinking. For some reason, and I think this ends up happening more often than not, is the synchronicity of just kind of going with things. I've got a desktop of like 1,000 so many freaking things and so many folders of like potential video ideas. And the one that I happened to click on today was I was like, I was drawn to this book on medieval geography, which features this map. I forget what it's called. I'll put it up in a video later, but it's this old map that has all this kind of crazy stuff on it. You guys may have seen it before. It's like super old and like just ridiculous as people have dived into it. But it's got all this text about different griffins and different giant birds like picking people up and like doing things with different people and taking them places and like kind of working
on the maps too, don't you?
Again,
the what? Bird on the old maps, quite often there's big birds holding people or elephants and animals and people and all these things, right?
And it has to be. I think it's definitely very real. And I was also even thinking that, even if like you got to put yourself in the perspective of the Native Americans too. If they've never seen anything that resembles a plane or an aircraft.
Exactly. Yeah. What's the bird? Yeah.
What is a bird? Yeah. That's all that, I mean, the only thing that they know that flies is a bird. So how could they, how could you really think anything else? A plane, an airship could be a bird, and they know that they went on it and et cetera. And then they have, this is pretty cool. I don't know if that's real or not, but then they, the whole lightning part, I also find very interesting because you get closer to it, look at the rubble at the bottom. It's the same thing, it also has that tree, like tree stump. But the wall is the most fucked up, like the most ridiculous part. Like what kind of volcano? How could a volcano ever create that? And you look in, there's one guy that does drone footage, and you look in, and it's clearly like constructed, like it's clear you can't see there.
So it is a wall. Yeah, it looks like a wall, doesn't it?
I mean, I haven't gotten next to it, but it so much looks like a wall that it's like ridiculous. How could my curiosity to just dig right down and deep in there, like just take a little chunk out and see what you see, like like that's what the future of our archaeology kind of stuff should be, like just boom, just see. You could put it back, it's not harming anything, but this whole landscape itself is like.
And this is in the USA, right?
This is in New Mexico. It's like so, and this, that looks like two different spires of towers. Like that certain parts are smooth. Like there's just something about it.
And that wall, it's got that kind of Star City look, right? With a big kind of citadel and then a wall going around.
Yeah, it really does. And even in the distance, you see these other ones, and what were those volcanoes too? Like,
oh wow, yeah. From that angle, it looks very cathedral-y, doesn't it?
But it's like the way that they use the term volcano makes you be like, for so many different things that all look different, you can't help but be like, what are volcanoes? Like, what is a volcano?
Where's this magma system? This is the thing, right? Volcanoes, they're supposed to be fed because they're all tapped into the same magma system, right? Where is this magma system? We've got no proof of that. We know the Russians drilled down 8 miles, right? They didn't hit anything.
Has anybody heard of anything further than that?
No. They can't go further, and they hit an impenetrable barrier, and on the way down, they didn't go through a magma, tunnel. So it's
everything's up for grabs. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Everything is up for grabs. It's almost just like the
Oh,
whole everything needs to be trashed, or
I
a
remember
lot of it.
like when I worked out that deserts weren't natural. It was only about 5 years ago. And I'm sitting there looking at it, it's like, these aren't natural. Like there's no
Yeah,
desert that's
no way.
natural. They're all just complete made. They're just bomb sites.
And that was even, yeah, they are. That's what they look like. And that's even right before right before we got on the call, right before we got on the call today. I made my tea, my matcha tea, and so I like dumped I like took like a spoon, like a knife edge, and I put like a little bit of matcha because I don't need much, and I dropped it in the bottom of my cup, and I noticed that it had like striations like this coming out of it, and I was just like, God, everything makes you ponder, because the microcosm and macrocosm are so connected. And it's like, did someone just dump something on these from above and just crush it to dust, or like, or after, maybe these things were on fire for a while and then they dumped something on top of it, or maybe there was a battle here, or like, I don't know what any of this is, but
it's a mad landscape, isn't it?
it's a ridiculous landscape. Like something like, you know what I mean? Something was dropped there or
Yeah,
something.
something
Like,
big.
the fact that they say lightning too makes me
Almost looks
wonder
like it's a
about.
big water bomb, because it looks like it's just kind of pushed everything up to the sides. But
Yeah, you're right.
that's the other hard thing with Google Earth, is it's very hard to sometimes to see if you're looking at like a depression or an elevation. The mountains look the same as the valleys.
You're right. Yeah, you can't, it's tough to tell that dimension on them. But some people have been there. The drones were pretty cool, of the drone footage that these guys
That's
had.
ridiculous. I've never heard or seen of that.
Yeah, I know this one. It's like the equivalent of that other one, almost, the Devil's Tower and stuff. Not. It's like it seems like a new one. And I had some other Google Earth pictures
There
of it.
is
I
a
don't know
star. Have you seen the star fort in New Mexico?
In which one? New Mexico?
In New Mexico?
I think I did. I feel like I did. I forget where it is.
I think John Levi might have shown it a year ago or so. It's just out in the middle of nowhere in the desert, but of course, there's a military base right next to it, but there's nothing else out there, right? Nothing.
And that's, again, one of those things, even like that movie Spies Like Us, like when they go in that military base in the middle of nowhere and they go down.
Yeah, and they go down. Yeah.
How many times did they do that? That's also, again, why they probably love the globe baloney, because no one would ever suspect us to have underground layers of anything or whatever.
Yeah.
And even look at this on the, I don't have the it's not on Google Earth, but you can see over here, like, this looks like a collapse of something over in this spot. And there was a few different spots that looked like that and had like sharp angles and different like things that, something massive is buried there. I don't know what it is, but there's something. And just the old stories of the griffins, the birds, and the lightning. There was even something of this in the same reading about that. And the river, and like the northern islands is where they say like the griffins were and whatnot. And it's like, huh?
The Northern Islands, really?
Yeah. This is an interesting book, this medieval geometry one. Or geography. I'm gonna put it out in I'll make a video of it at one point, and I'll pop it out there. I'll stop the share though now. I can't find my other ones.
Northern Ireland. I mean, that's, oh gosh. I mean, yeah, and we've got this. We've all got the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
Yeah.
Fire and brimstone, and Sodom and Gomorrah. You look at them today, and they look like what we just looked at. They look like these destroyed, melted, cities. So, I mean, it would be, very unlikely that would happen, but only to one place, in the realm, right? If there was a weapon and they were doing it, then we'd get the same. And that's everywhere. What we see, these deserts everywhere and these destroyed. I mean, look at Africa, right? We've all seen the old maps, and there's nothing there anymore.
Wow.
Just 10,000 years ago, they reckon, but in the maps, it's like 400 years ago, it was green.
Oh, God. That's that's tough to eradicate all the stuff like from that time ago, like where the pictures, there was probably cities all over that place, like how did the airships, I think, had something to do with that sand, or it could have been flooding and things like that too, but like I could see fleets of airships dumping stuff, or I don't know. It's just so many, like, imaginations is one of the few kind of areas that we have that we need to utilize, and then have the facts back it up, or the archaeology back it up in due time, or the Tartarians come down and tell us.
Yeah, but I mean, I think imagination is the first step in a topic like this, because when we don't know, and on top of that, we can't get access to a lot of this stuff. Like literally, we can't get into the sites. We're banned from there's only certain books and stuff we can find. So you kind of have to use your imagination. What ifs, and then I think the other main thing is don't go along telling people what happened, because we don't. It's all just information. It's like you were saying at the start. It's just putting it out there, and that's why I made my very first video. Literally, it was, well, I find this interesting, so no doubt other people will. I haven't seen a video on it, so I'll put it out, and
that's what
here
it is.
I am, right? That was it. Just and that's where the answers come, because everyone's in a different place around the realm. They've all seen different things. They've all been into different ancient buildings, and if we just put it out there as evidence, this is what I see, this is what's there, then slowly we're building a picture, and slowly we'll get closer and closer to the truth. So
it's amazing.
I think that's how it goes.
We have to. And even, if if there's a such thing as a noosphere and like the collective consciousness and stuff, we get like, maybe there's a way to even tap into that I don't know if it's with entheogens or just with natural, just art or thought or anything, just connections. But, and also I think I'm under the impression that everything, even though the world is like on the surface and in many ways, they make us think that it's crap and it's hopeless. I've been under the impression for at least 20 years now that everything is perfect. It's like my mantra is that everything is perfect. And like when you go down the street, you could be walking in a crowd of people, and like one word will pop out to you, and it's like the most necessary word, and you need it, or it like help, or you'll like just finding that medieval geography book out of like thousands of books on my computer, and just that one was the first one I went to, and I found the griffins right after reading the Navajo story about the birds. So it's just like these synchronicities are almost like, if everything is perfect, what we're doing is pulling people in that need to be part of the narrative, and that have something, and it's like it's all working in a really a perfect form that we can't even fathom. And if you try to, you just get thrown off, because it can't be predicted. It's like too good. And everybody like you said, everybody has a little bit that like and just highlighting some shy person's like thought gives them the confidence to then do what you did and what I did. Like you just needed that one boost, and then we keep going, and then as we all keep going and growing, we're discovering things, we're sharing each other's things, and it's working and spreading, and we're getting around those avenues to find people that have the insight and that have the drive to search for the truth that we're all trying to find, and everybody adds a piece to the puzzle, and it's great.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think
you never know who's gonna add the next.
Yeah, who's going to add the next piece, and they pop out of the ether, right? You put an intention, or you do a bit of work, and people just are like, "Where'd you come from?" And people that literally you would have, if we relied on the physical world, there's no way ever that you would meet these people. So there's clearly something else going on here.
There is,
and I think we don't look for the lessons. I think that's the biggest problem. Like we just sort of, just fluff things off. Without, it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't, dreams, they don't mean anything. Or this doesn't mean anything. Or that guy's just an a-hole. If we stop to think, how does that have relevance to my life? Have I got something to learn there? Then things might, then we might start thanking people for being a-holes, right? Because everything's a mirror, right? Oh, thank you for showing me that bit about myself.
The reflection.
The reflection. And this is what's going on in the world. And I guess that's why a lot of people are yelling, right? Because they're not happy with the reflection. But
it's true.
Let's just change your actions.
Yeah, it's big. It's in everybody's power to really do it. Everyone is their own worst enemy if you make yourself your enemy. And a lot of people do. They're convinced to do that. And it's really sad, especially the youth. They're like, they're guided so many ways, and they're kind of attacked on so many different directions that it's like, you have to be a strong person to, like, from the start almost to break through a lot of this stuff. And that helped in the 80s. That, like, I feel like the 80s culture helped me get to that point, because like if I was definitely a product of the Goonies and you know, all those like movies that were brought adventure and you can save the world mentality into the picture. And you know, maybe that's just a delusion as well, but there's a clear difference between the movies in the 80s and the movies now. And the intention of the movies now is very times very sinister, and the kids are getting these things and they're getting these impressions from in the way we did, but they're getting it from sources and visions that are sinister, and it stinks. That's why. But the 80s, there was something good, something good about it.
Literally, cool, man. Yeah,
They were so cool. Everyone was just having fun and like, you know, saving the world, and that's. I almost wonder if that was, you know, part of the
our
the
education,
program, you know,
yeah.
in order to create a generation of people that would be willing to do what we're doing today, you needed like people that would grow up like this, and you know, maybe these people today are being shown this because there's something that they need to, you know, they need to eventually get to a point where that's, you know, that's
this is the other thing. We're not all on the same level, and we're not necessarily all going to the same place, right?
No, yeah, that's definitely true too.
You know, so everyone's to their own, and that's why I think the biggest thing is we just got to focus on what we want. You know, I mean, this whole judging thing of, you know, I mean, that doesn't really get you anywhere. It just stops you thinking, right? As soon as you believe someone's right or wrong, well, you're not going to do any more research or any more thinking or anything.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, so this whole judgment thing, but in the same breath, we should judge people. Someone's running at you with a knife saying, I'm about to kill you. You should judge them as a danger and a threat and get the hell out of there, right?
Yeah. And that's true. I mean, and that's the funny thing is when people kind of come at you and they like you can tell they're out to harm you, or they're out to like, they've got an agenda against you. And you have to put an end to that when that comes, or you just ignore it and move on. But they, you know, the people that are finding each other are so much more important, and they, and it's, and like that, you know, making up like slapping off the mosquitoes is a small portion of it, but it's really building up the everyone else that does it. I mean, there's so many times even that you'll come out with a video, or John Levy will come out with a video, and I'll be in iMovie, like your premiere will pop up and I'll be in iMovie and I'll be like, oh my God, like we're thinking on like the same exact like path. Yeah, like, it's happened with you. It's happened with John Levy. I think it happened with Paul Cook once. It's happened with another guy too. And I'm like, there's something weird there. Like it is, I know you guys aren't spying on my computer. And I know it's just
wait, Google, man.
Cam, is that you again?
Yeah, it's me, man.
But you know, there's all these signs. You have to go with the signs, and in this thing, there's a lot of signs, and in the feelings of, you know, when you drive around and you see the buildings, or you see another proof of the flat Earth or whatever, or just that we don't know. Then it just keeps resonating and building like this thing. And it feels so good to not think like, you know, I don't necessarily think I'm thinking right, but I'm not thinking totally wrong. And I think there's something really bad about, I think that's another attack method, is that like when people think something that's just so wrong and so anti-nature, it like gets at you. It's like a cancer, I think, in you, like a form of like non-physical, you know, maybe a spiritual disease, because you're like constantly, you know, if you're constantly going on thinking something is just completely wrong, or someone hates you and they don't, then you're, I mean, even on that level to a much grander scale, you're just like, it doesn't work.
No, because the hate's in you. You can sit down and hate someone, and, you know, big reveal here, guys. That person doesn't know that you're hating on them. They don't. No. They don't know. They don't get any effects at all. You get all the effects, 100% of them. So the hate is in you. You're only affecting yourself.
It's so true. It's sad when people can't realize it, and they're just stuck in a cycle of that misery. And, you know, and it's like, you know, maybe have a couple realize, like, look a little further into something and get like, you know, inspiration. Like this whole topic is just a treasure trove. I mean, there's no way to exhaust it, really. Even if we were to like, even if someone were to prove 100% officially, which I think we pretty much have, that the Earth is flat, then okay, what's beyond the poles? And then when we get to beyond the poles, like, okay, then there's a whole nother world of things that are going to be ready for us. And, you know, if we can, like each step of the way, like there's so much potential in all of this.
What if
what are
that's
the
it?
plans?
What if we've just got to get enough people to even believe the possibility that there's more
That's it.
land before we actually get to experience that, right?
Yeah,
Because
you're right.
otherwise, what have they been programmed, right? Alien invasion, they're coming to kill us, This is the thing.
I know, crazy. Oh,
So yeah.
they're everywhere. They're convinced in so many different ways, and it's tough when we're battling monsters, and like a monster that has the ability to make certain thoughts go out to the masses, and it's gradually turning now, which is good. Like our ideas, and people that are on the side of good, at least their ideas are going places. And when they put out that article about Boston creating a COVID strand and stuff, it flew around the world like wildfire, and everyone's like, what's going on? But in my mind, there should be people outside that Boston University surrounding the place, demanding it end. But I guess we're not there yet. But I mean, it's a gradual process. Like, hopefully we get to that point where, someone, or I think it would be amazing if one day, like, this movement that we're all doing builds up to a point where the Vatican and the Smithsonian are surrounded, and they have to do something about it.
Open
Unlike the
doors,
laws,
buddies. Let us in.
let us in, or just even camp out there for a few days until the news has to like cover it. Like, why are these people at the Smithsonian all this stuff? Like, they even had like that, whatchamacallit, it's kind of sad, but it's also kind of interesting. Have you heard that, like, you've seen that campaign, like, birds aren't real?
Yeah.
They can get like 5,000 people to a showing, but like, something like this, like Boston University might be coming up with a strain that could kill 80% of the population, and nobody goes to protest.
Okay. Yeah.
Birds are real. It would mean it'll hopefully keep accelerating to a point where where the truth hits so many people, or just the realizations hit so many people, that like when something happens, like we all gather together and deal with it like immediately, and then they'll stop trying these tactics eventually, and that would be nice. Like, I mean, I pray to God that our generation gets to experience a world and a time in this world where a renaissance of thought flourishes. We clean this place again, like, where we get back to a time that's just, feels good to raise a child in, and where, picnics, even picnics. I've always wanted to start a trend of bringing picnics back, because going outside and eating and sitting down and like having fun with the bugs and butterflies is like incredible. And every instead of just eating on the go, on the rush, which I'm definitely guilty of, but it's, there are certain old things that, like, in moment and like timeless things that have been a little bit lost, that I think if you bring people back into those realms of experiencing the world in a positive and happy way, like, and if that becomes the norm, then antidepressants will disappear. All these things will just gradually be gone, because it's free to be good and to follow a path of good. It's completely free, and I'm convinced that everyone's born good. But in order to like make people evil and confuse people and delude people, someone has to spend so much money and put so much effort into doing all those things. Like, a movie is a propaganda piece. It's a lot of money, and it's a lot of effort, and it's like, evil costs a lot. And at some point it's not going to be profitable for them anymore, and they'll hopefully stop. And that's, I think, what we're getting to if we keep having these realizations as a whole. And I think it's going to be cool. I mean, I hope we can live in a world where we're just, where the Tartarians are like, I want to go back down to that part of the realm and see.
I know, right? Exactly. You'd want to come down and rescue us at the moment. It's like, hey man, those dudes are crazy. I'm not going there.
They're like up there wondering if they have to wear a mask when they come down.
Yeah. They said we have to wear a mask. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not going down if I have to wear a mask, mate.
5-foot masks, Tartarian, giant heads.
Yeah.
I actually had one idea at one point. I think it was I don't know if it was before Tartarian Tales or not, where I was pondering. I have a bunch of different ideas for like things, but I was pondering doing like a news show from because I had this animate photo Adobe Animate program, and you can like make yourself into a character and kind of talk like this, and it fills over it. And I was messing around with that for like a couple weeks, and I was like, it'd be cool to have like a Tartarian news show where you look at the events of the weekly events of the world from the perspective of someone beyond the poles, like looking at Earth like it's like.
Oh, okay, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
There's something about that. I've always, because it would be an interest, because everything. Look at the mod, like you could be like the source of like, you know, Tartaria news or something, and then you're taking the perspective
outside
of
looking in or something.
Being, like looking at our news bullshit from an enlightened like being beyond its perspective. Would be a kind of an interesting little imagination idea.
I think you're onto something there. Yeah.
You want to join me in it? We'll do news from
interesting.
Beyond the poles.
Yeah, let me know if you put anything together. I'll come and have a chat. I just want to tell you.
I haven't thought about it. That'd be cool. But it'd be like a funny way to look at the news, and also be like, you know, be it from the perspective of like, you know, what
are these crazy humans doing? What? He said 2 words and he said 3. What's going on with that guy?
Oh my God, it would be funny. And then do like a news from Tartaria, mock news from Tartaria, like something. Like this entire a new bell was created for the blah blah blah, and the first ring made everyone like jizz their pants or something.
We've discovered the white tone. You've heard of the brown tone, now meet the white
tone. There's so much possibilities though. It's great. I hope it's someday that, you know, I don't think they'll ever do a flat Earth channel, because I think they have just too much invested in that like thing. Yeah. But I think this ancient kind of history is, you know, the aliens, they took up the aliens and they popularized it. But again, like you said, if that whole realm is dead, then it's just us promoting it, and then soon enough it'll be natural. That's the one thing is the worst, is that it's not a natural. What we have like is not natural. Like they have, you know, with all the shadow banning, with everything that's like happening against us, we're not experiencing a natural like reality the way it should be. And the way it should be is like with like-minded things actually spreading at the rate that they should. And if you have that, I think
that's what they're stopping, the natural process of the information chain.
Big time. They're stopping it, like they're like halting it by like 10. They like put the severe brakes on it, because it's in so many things that would go and spread, like would just naturally spread to people because they love to hear it and it would make them feel good, are just being, you know, that channel's gone, and or it just disappears, or it just doesn't go anywhere, or it sticks in the same echo chamber, or it's I hope we get to experience the power of what it could be like if we are let go, if the choker is like pulled off and we're able to really flourish. And you know, people see that, because there's a lot of people with like, you know, this isn't like a middle class or anything thing. I guarantee you there's a lot of people of every class that are every monetary value or wealth level state that think this. And they're everywhere. If you have a brain and you're thinking, then you're not trusting what they're telling you, and you want to. In the end,
it's lifestyle. Once they start attacking people's ability to feed, clothe, house themselves, and then their kids, I mean, I really don't see how they thought that would ever work. They clearly thought that everyone was a lot more programmed than they are, right? Because literally everything they do is just waking people up. I mean, it's so I think it's great. You know, I think we're getting close, right? And you know, like I said, right, you know, the second stage is ridicule, right, of what's happening to the governments of the world at the moment. I mean, they've been ridiculed out of existence, you know, especially the old US government, and they just keep giving us like more like free ammunition. Here, have this, shoot me with this, would you?
Unreal. It's gone to a level that's just so absurd that it's like no one can even justify it anymore.
And the point that it has to get so absurd so that no one can like ignore it anymore, right? It's like, oh God, I'm out.
And you know, if that was the plan, then I hope it comes out at the end that this, you know, that I'd love to hear that this has been a plan for like 60 years or even longer.
Next year, you know, we'll be on the
like the
in a few days, and it'll be like the closing credits will come up. Thanks for watching our film for the last 2 years.
Yeah, that I wouldn't be surprised. Oh my God. What a film. What a ridiculous film it's been. You guys over there too. Holy God. Australia seemed intense.
Yeah, I'm
for a while.
I'm pretty lucky because I'm on the West Coast, so nothing happens here. Like we're literally, I'm in the most isolated.
Are you in like
Perth? So I've got to drive.
Wow, awesome.
I've got to drive like 2.5 days just to hit the border of the state. Like we're the biggest state in the realm.
Wow.
Yeah, so everything's over east.
Oh, that's cool.
We sort of we hardly even had, you know, the wearing stupid crap on your face thing, and I never did, and no one said anything. So, you know, I'm kind of sitting there going, is this really real? Or am I just watching a movie? Because they're telling me nothing's going on here. So I kind of get lucked out. I'm in the right city, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was good. It must have been great to not see these people. Like I remember, I mean, I still see people driving by themselves with masks on, like all the time. It's mind blowing.
We still have those people, unfortunately, you know, walking the dog, standing at a bus stop, waiting for work, and they got their mask on. It's like, what are you talking?
Riding a bike or running too. That's bizarre.
Haven't seen them swimming yet. You know, I've seen the pictures, but I haven't seen one in real life. I'm still waiting for that. Someone in the pool with a mask on.
Oh my God. They convinced people at one point that it was to be spread through pools and stuff. It's like, these people, how could you ever believe this stuff? I remember going outside and being like at the peak of it. Because one thing that was kind of cool about it over here was the traffic like stopped for like a couple months. There was like nobody on the road or anywhere. Everyone was like inside, so you could go into the woods, and usually I go into the woods and I'm alone anyway, but you could like, it was like the whole world was like empty in a weird way. And if you weren't afraid, you were one of the few that wasn't afraid, then you could like do anything. It was actually really cool. But it was something, it was a little surreal. And I remember as well, one thing that I noticed was really cool about it was the hum at night. Because I'm not too close to a highway, but I mean, anywhere really in Massachusetts, I think besides the West, you can hear like the hum of the roads, really anywhere. I mean, probably a few woods places where you can't, but where I live, you can. And for those months, the hum at night was gone. It was just like, I'd go outside on my porch, like to siesta, and there'd be just no sound like anywhere. It was
no
awesome.
one was doing anything.
Instead of hearing like,
and isn't it interesting?
No
one did anything, and the world didn't stop. Everyone just sat at home, didn't go to work, and the world kept going. It's amazing. It's almost like, you know, we don't all have to have jobs, right?
It was nuts.
Let the cat out of the bag with that one.
It was
all right. Well, we've been going about 2 hours.
Definitely good for
art. That was a quick 2 hours.
Nice. Yeah.
That
flew by, Cam.
Might wrap it up there, but yeah, I mean, we might have to continue this. We're kind of only halfway through the conversation, right? Might have to get you on and have a chat with Kelly as well at some point.
Yeah, that was good. I remember you said at one point on one of your talks, I forget, I don't know if it was with Beagle or someone else, but you were talking about how you like to, you know, a lot of people stick to kind of one avenue, and you're one of the guys like me as well, who likes to just go all over the place, and it's the, you know, thinks that the whole, you know, there's something. Like there are certain people that need to go down that avenue, and what they're putting out is like perfect and honed right in on that and essential and necessary.
Definitely.
And then there's people like us that kind of show the whole, like connect the whole like picture together. And it's great because there's nothing. I mean, we could talk about a billion different things, and they all, you know, everything has a piece. Like how, I mean, I'm not obsessed with Hollywood or anything, but I connect those movies to them because they're part of that programming, and they're you know, they're part of the puzzle. Everything's part of the puzzle, and there's got to be a way to figure it out. And I think together it's impossible for one person, but together as a community, I think we're just going to keep doing it. I think I hope the next big discovery comes out of us, in that it like, you know, we're the frontiers of something, and they'll try to.
Yeah, I kind of see it, you know, like this community, we're going to be the next, you know, megalithomania dudes, right? The next Graham Hancocks and Hugh Newmans and all these people that were really big, and they're like a group of you know, a certain amount of information. I mean, you know, I think that's where this community is going.
I hope so. And I think it will. And I wonder when the first, like at some point, I think another first will be like the first archaeological kind of like where we start to raise money for something, and then someone digs and then maybe finds something, like in a place where, in a place like in the middle of nowhere where, it's not like, I mean, they dig all over Rome. There's people digging all over
in the desert. Yeah.
There's got to be something, there's got to be a way to get permission to try something, convince like some state or a town that has something that, like, there's a wall near me that's viaduct.
You just need to find like a poor country or town or province and tell them that it'll bring heaps of tourism. Let us dig around.
Oh yeah, that's true. And soon it will. People would love that. Yeah. And I mean, people might not even know that they have a tourist. I mean, there's a lot of places where this could create a tourist kind of boom in areas to repopulate these old buildings. I mean, even in New England, there's a lot of Tartarian-esque, like even houses and churches that go for sale or at auction, because nobody wants to like work with them anymore. And it's like, God, someone needs to get one of those.
You need to buy one
and dig down and make it an old world, a lost world museum or something that has all kinds of information like this in it. I think we're at the beginning of. I think we're at the beginning of what could be, this, like the start of the UFO craze. Like that started off slow, and now there's museums and stores and movies and everything. And it's probably mostly BS, but this one is kind of starting, and then they'll gradually, maybe they'll connect. Maybe both of those will end up connecting in a way that's like,
geez, you're giving me ideas.
Let's keep it going. No, not tonight. We can move on tonight, but let's definitely talk again, Cam. I love it.
Yeah,
it was great.
No, I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So, well, do you want to give a shout out? Have you got websites as well as a channel? How can people find you?
Yeah, if you guys feel free to subscribe and check out the artofdino.com channel. And then I got my www.artofdino.com is where all the magic is. My wife is erinshelbybun.com. They're all over. It's all over my video information and stuff. But, I'm one of those, I don't really ask for donations or anything. I just recommend people buy my art. Then you get art. It spreads. You get something in return, and it's cool. Awesome. I like it. I always send freebies out. If you order something from me, I send you a freebie, and if you order again, I send you more and more. So I'm very thankful for everyone that's ever helped me support, and so I like to hook people up.
Nice. Well, there you go, guys. I'll leave all the links below, so go and check him out, his videos, his work, give him a like, subscribe, and check out the art. Go on. We don't want to support Babylon anymore. If you've got a gift or something, or you want something for your house, don't go to Target or Walmart.
That's right.
Get some original art.
Commissions too. I'm doing a book on one of our favorite topics that we actually talked about, but I'm actually not writing the book, but someone very big in the scene. I did the cover for the book that's coming out in about 7 months. I can't even say it. I wish I could, because you'd love it. You'd know who it is. But stay tuned, because it's going to be awesome. But I did a commission with him a couple weeks ago, and it worked out great. The book cover was better than he had envisioned, and I've been doing a couple other book covers. And so if people ever have a vision as well that you want to share, or you're like, I have this idea, I'd love to see what this would look like. That's kind of where I think my strong point will be in this community, is inevitably kind of helping to recreate ideas of theoretical situations. And then, we'll see in time if they come true or not, or if they're just fun. But either way, they are fun to draw
nice.
and look at.
Awesome.
But you guys are all great. I love this community. You guys are the best. So
thank you. And thanks
for
joining us.
I love joining forces with everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cam, man. It's great.
Got to build a community, sit together.
Let's think about that Tartaria. Think about that Tartaria news channel from
yeah. On
the pole.
Yeah. People want to see a cartoon.
I can picture. That would be fun. I can picture the Bernie guy being pretty funny. He could be. Even having like two front like anchors, and then have like the weather the Tartarian weatherman or
the crazy
the Tartarian tech master. Yeah, the alchemist. That's exactly it. having like different characters as part of the news broadcast
that's a good
would be
idea.
funny to produce something like that.
That would be awesome fun. Yeah, definitely let me know if you're doing it. Keep me in the loop.
All right,
All right, guys.
I'll try to let it marinate.
Yeah, thank you. So thanks all, for spending some time. I hope you enjoyed that one. Go check out all the links below. Go give Dino a link, check out his work. And we'll be back. Or I'll see you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
Awesome. Bless you all.